Everybody here today and declare the meeting open at 10 a.m. We'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we work and live, the Palawa people of this land, Tasmania, and recognise their continuing connection to the land, skies and waters, and we pay respect to the elders past and present. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd also like to advise you that today's council meeting is being live streamed and recorded. This means that the members of the public who are unable to attend in person can still observe the proceedings. By remaining in this chamber, you are consenting to being filmed and recorded. Please be mindful of your actions and contributions as they will be visible to the public, and thank you for your cooperation. 25.1.1 we have in attendance. 25.1.2 apologies. We have nil, but at the moment we do not have Councillor Barnes, and we do not have any leave of absence on 25.1.3. 25.1.4 we have staff in attendance. 25.2.1 is public question time. We have the Bay of Fireweather Arts Festival public liability insurance question for Mr and Mrs Rubenak, and that has been answered. Do we have any further questions from the members of the public? Oh, sorry, yes, we're at 25.2.2. We have the Bing Long Bay Foreshore Master Plan, and that has been responded to. Councillor Johnston.
Just with public questions that have been written in, can we read out the question? I think so that people can hear it. Is that okay? I think we did actually talk about this, that when people make the effort to actually put it in writing and send it to here, that we should actually read out the question. We discussed that, I think, at the last meeting, if not the one before.
I don't think we've had any decision on that, Councillor Johnston. It's been discussed without a decision.
Yeah. Through you, Mr Mayor, it's up to the Chair whether they're read out. The replies are provided there in the agenda as well, and that is available online, but it's up to the Chair in relation to that.
Look, I think the public question time is there for everybody to see. It's in the agenda, and the nature of being having to describe each and every part of this, I think, is unnecessary today. So we will not be reading it out and responding as same as 25.2.2. That question is there, and the response is also there for everybody. Any other questions from members of the public, please? Good morning. How are you? If you'd like to just come forward and state your name as normal, and we would love to hear your question, please.
Good morning, my name's Nicola Stevens, and I have a question about an update on the Break of Day Aquatic Facility project. So the community is concerned about a lack of public updates regarding the aquatic feasibility report, which has been in draft form for some months. Council records show that the draft report was received by the Aquatic Committee Working Group in February and again in May. Consultants presented to the councillors at a workshop in March. In April, Council confirmed the draft was under internal review, and in May, the Aquatic Committee received a presentation on the key insights and findings. The original aquatic facility project methodology in January 2023 commits Council to reporting back to the community. In that spirit, I respectfully ask Council to provide the following. Number 1, confirmation of which tasks have been completed under Stage 1 Feasibility Analysis Project Methodology, page 7, figure 2. Number 2, timeframes and next steps for the aquatic facility project for A, Break of Day Council, B, the consultants, and C, the Aquatic Committee Working Group. Number 3, when does BODOC anticipate sharing the feasibility report with the community? 4, if there is any reason for the delay in releasing the draft report, could BODOC please explain it? We recognise that the final version may still be in development. However, given the draft has already been reviewed and presented internally and that this project is publicly funded, we hope the Council will honour its stated commitment to keeping the community informed throughout the process. We respectfully request that Council provide a general timeframe for release of the draft report or a clear update on progress and expected steps. Sharing this information would go a long way in helping restore confidence and demonstrating that open, honest, transparent communication remains a priority for the Council. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and if you'd like to pass it on, there will be a response in 7 working days. Thank you. Do we have any further questions from members of the public, please? If we have no further questions in public question time, we'll move to 25.3.0, declaration of an interest of a councillor or close associate. We have none. 25.4.1 is the confirmation of the minutes of the council meeting on the 19th of May 2025. Can I have somebody move? Councillor Johnston, and seconded Councillor Chappell. Any discussion on those minutes? If we have nothing, I'll take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous. Thank you. 25.5.0, council workshop held since the 19th of May. Your information. 25.6.0 was planning authority, and today we have nothing, so we won't move in or out of the planning authority. 25.7.1 is outstanding matters. Do we have anybody who's got any questions of the General Manager, or would you like to add anything to it, John, regarding?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Nothing to add. No questions.
Have we got any questions? Councillor Johnston.
With the Beaumaris, what's it called? Scamander Beaumaris Plan, project brief. There is a question in here, but I'd just like to make a statement as well. The engagement with the consultants and staff on this very important project for me has been really positive. So I thank the council, the consultants and the staff. So I look forward, and I suppose this is where my question is, to the engagement with the community being impacted, that it will be genuine, deep and meaningful. And hope with the support of council staff this happens and is early in the process. My question, I suppose, is will the council be involved in the community consultation, assisting the consultants do the work of the community consultation?
That will be normal practice, that when consultants are working on the ground, council officers have a connection. They work alongside them with the consultants on the delivery of those engagement activities.
Yep. Any further questions? If we have none, we'll move on to 25.8.0, which is petitions, and we have nil. 25.9.0, notice of motions, and we have nil. And 25.10.0, councillors' questions on notice, we have nil. 25.11.0, councillors' questions without notice. Do we have any questions from councillors, please? Councillor Johnston.
This is in relation to an event I went to that the Mayor, as Legat President, opened, which was the Pride and Progress Forum, LGBTQI equality and diversity in local government. It was the first of its kind, and I thank the Mayor for giving a very warm and welcome. My question, therefore, during that meeting, I became aware that there are many councils working in this space of inclusion and putting together action plans. My question is, in June is Pride Month, and I asked the council, would we consider flying the rainbow flag for Pride Month in 2026?
Thank you very much for that. If you pass that question over to our Secretary, that'll be dealt with in due course. Any other questions?
Sorry, Mick, I just want to say, and I do acknowledge this, I don't know if people can see this, that we do have this, and that is one very good step. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank
Thanks.
you. And thank you, Councillor Johnson, for those kind words. Do we have any other questions without notice? We have none. 25.12.1 is the Mayor's communications for the period ending the 16th of June for your information. 25.12.2 is the Council's reports for the period ending 16th of June, and we'll go first to Chamber of Commerce and Tourism. Deputy Mayor.
The next meeting is Tuesday the 1st of July at 6 p.m. at the Bayside Inn.
No worries, thank you. NRM Special Committee, Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. We had a deferred meeting just recently, and I would like to thank one of the presentations was from the Scamander by Moral Structure Plan consultants, which was a really good process because they were also trying to gather information from the NRM committee. I think the thing for me with the NRM committee that really came home in our recent meeting, there was a small amount of people. We've got to get a couple more people onto the committee, is the need for a overall policy around volunteering within the council in the space of natural resource management together with Parks and Wildlife. And of course the other major issue that people are continuing to discuss is deer, along with lots of other things, but they're some of the issues that seem to be being brought to the attention of the members of the NRM committee. Deer, oh dear, yes.
Thank you.
And volunteering, that we have a volunteering.
I think we see every day in the paper volunteers are becoming less and volunteers are becoming older. And it was sad to see in the paper today another Rotary Club is closing. We need to do more to try to keep our volunteers active, and we need to do whatever we can to introduce new people into volunteering because they find that they receive far more than they give. Volunteering is an incredible opportunity to make a difference to your community. So thank you very much for that, Councillor Johnston.
So thank you, Mayor. Just in response to that, the question wasn't to try and get more people, it was trying to have a pathway, because there are people that want to do it, but it feels like there's a blockage or there's a number of hurdles between our community volunteers, council, our community volunteers and parks. And I think that is the issue, that we actually have people that want to do it, but we need to actually have a process to allow them to do it. So, just so I can confirm that.
We'll take that one on notice and we'll delve into that quite a bit deeper to find out what the blockages may be there.
Thank you.
East Coast Tourism, Councillor Fever.
Yes, as a council rep, I recently attended a 2-day East Coast Tourism Board meeting at Spring Bay Mill at Triabunna. It was on the 28th and 29th of May. 10 board members were present, including the 2 new additions to the team, they being Jason Unwin from Easy Tiger and Greg Ross from Freycinet Air. Both Jason and Greg appeared to be excellent selections to the board because they demonstrated drive, passion, business and tourism knowledge and a love of the coast. And an added bonus is that they live at Beaumaris and Coles Bay respectively, and so both councils are represented. During the 2-day program, the board covered a range of topics, including a regular board meeting, epistemic presentation on the positive impact plan, looking at progress thus far and emerging themes and plans, a Tourism TAS presentation focusing on 2030 update and visitor pledges. Sally Taylor presented on industry development on the East Coast, and there was a recognition, awards and Winter for Mill 2025 discussion, and then the direction that East Coast tourism needs to go in the future. Just explaining the Winter for Mill, last year it was an issue.
$20, thank you, Councillor.
I don't know how to turn it down any lower. It's a new one.
Last year, East Coast Tourism initiated a plan where they got some high flyers throughout the state who may not have otherwise visited the coast, and they brought them here. They were housed on the coast and they visited a number of tourism spots. So they're doing the same this year. There'll be about 50. They'll be based in Freycinet, and Freycinet Lodges actually gifted 25 units for the night, so then they can use that as a launching spot to go out and visit businesses. So it's highly successful, and apparently there's a waiting list of people wanting to participate. They're obviously people who have a lot of influence and strong online, so they get the message out. Damien Mather is at present the acting CEO of East Coast Tourism. He's to be congratulated on his professionalism and user-friendly nature. And congratulations to the Bay of Fires Bush Retreat, who won the quarterly East Coast Tourism Positive Impact Recognition Award.
Thank you very much for that very comprehensive report there, Councillor Beaver. Very much appreciated. The Mental Health Action Group, we have nothing. Access and Inclusion Advisory Committee, Councillor Carter.
As you will note, I'm a nominee for that position today, so not really a spokesman. And as far as I'm aware, there's been no recent meetings of the Access and Inclusion Committee.
Thank you very much. Well, the Bay of Fires...
On that, I think Ian and I were probably going to be sharing responsibility on that. I've been absent with hospital stuff, but we'll come together and work
So
together.
the Bay of Fires Master Plan, Councillor Carter.
Again, there's been no recent meeting of the committee, but obviously the public consultation process last month was very extensive, and there's a draft being awaited. And as also noted in the minutes today, there's a replacement needed for the environmental representative on that group, which is underway at the moment.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Carter. 25.13.1 is the Corporate Services Department report. Rao, would you like to come forward, please? And good morning, Rao. Would you like to talk us through this report? If there's anything you'd like to add or share a light on?
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, councillors. The Corporate Services Department report this month highlights a couple of the key deliverables that we've achieved. One is getting the draft budget estimates completed to bring to this meeting, and the other's been working with the Tasmanian Audit Office with our annual audit outcomes report. And I'm pleased to note that when we started that, there were 10 open audit recommendations from the previous periods, and there were no new audit recommendations that came up, and during the year 7 recommendations were classified as resolved, so that was a really good outcome. The audit panel meeting went ahead in June, and that completes the audit panel's work for the year. And there's some notes there on our investment portfolio and the rates summary. And present the report as printed, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Rao. Can I have somebody move that the report be received? Councillor Beaver, seconded Councillor Owen. Any questions to Rao on the report, please? Councillor Drummond.
If I may, through the chair, there is just one thing I was curious. We said there were 10 open audit recommendations and we resolved 7. That leaves us with 3. So do they carry over into this year?
They do.
Yep. May I ask what they are?
I'd have to take that on notice. One of them relates to journal entries.
Thank you. So they're just fairly minor things?
They're very operational.
Thank you.
Do you have any further questions? If not, I'll take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 25.13.2 is the monthly financial report. Once again, Rao, this one's over to you if you'd like to walk us through this one or any extras you'd like to add.
Not a lot to add here this month, Mr Mayor. The profit and loss statements, the balance sheet, statement of cash flows and the capital works program are all provided there for council information. There's a series of notes attached to the report which really pick up on some of the key areas that may be of interest to council. And just noting that we are getting towards the end of the financial year, so we're starting to get a clear understanding of where we're at budget-wise and where we're at as far as delivery of the capital works program. is concerned. It's probably worth noting, Mayor, that the Capital Works program has, in certain areas, been stalled this year due to workload of staff and contractor availability. That's in particular impacted the footpath replacement program and a couple of other areas as well. And really, yep, I'm just open to any questions from there, Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ralph. Somebody move that the report be received. Councillor Wright and Secretary Councillor Brown. And any questions to Ralph on the financial report, please? Councillor Johnson?
Just in response to what you've just said, that some of the capital works haven't been able to be done because of the contractor bit. The bit that concerns me is that it sounds like we've got too much to do for our staff. Is that something that is, staff that work in that area, is that something due to increased weather events, or is it that there's just more infrastructure to look after, or just when you said that it's, the footpaths aren't being done due to, one of the things is due to the fact that staff, there's too much going on?
Look, in all honesty, this year's just been one of those years where some things have gone wrong. The Fingal pump track, for example, where we found asbestos. That soaked up an enormous amount of time. There's been a couple of other projects that have also soaked up an enormous amount of time.
So it's unexpected. It's not, you don't see it as a...
No,
okay. Thank you.
It's just the nature of delivering these sorts of works.
Yeah. There I understand what you're saying. However, if that things aren't happening because there is a lack of staffing, but what you're saying is we've had some unusual things. Asbestos is a rather large one. But I just want to note that for me, that is an issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Councillor Johnson.
Would you like to make any comment?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I think if we look at the program that's there and where it hasn't been, there is a little bit of footpath work there. Quite often we do use our own team to do that. We have had some unfortunate situations with a fuel away long term.
So that it is.
A fuel away long
Okay.
term.
Okay.
For
Health reasons, yeah.
And so that's certainly impacted, particularly if you take 2 or 3 or 4 out, which is the scale that we're talking about. That's effectively a team. So unusual, but on the whole, the vast majority of the work program has been delivered. There's just a few of these smaller jobs that are hanging around as well. So certainly it's been a lot completed this financial year as well.
Thank you guys for that.
Do we have any further questions to Raoul on this? If not, I'm going to take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 25.13.3 is the Visitor Information Centre report. Raoul, would you like to talk to this?
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, this is provided every month as an update on the activities and services delivered by the Visitor Information Centre. And really the highlight of this report is we had the highest May door count since 2008. Now, I've asked our staff down there why that is, and they really can't put any rhyme or reason to it at all. East Coast Tourism, Councillor Fever might be able to shed some light on that, but it's a considerable increase in people coming through the door in May, which is a great outcome, traditionally becoming the quiet time of the year. So really that's the main area there. Beyond also the book launch of Doods Pike, as he's known, Lessons Learned. One of the very famous fishermen from this area and his daughter Lucille Wally was there to assist in opening the book launch on Sunday the 25th of May, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Can I have somebody move the report to receive? Councillor Fever, Secretary Councillor Oldham. Any questions or comments on the report? Councillor Fever.
It's interesting when I give a report to East Coast Tourism at their board meetings, they love this piece about the Visitors Information Centre. And can I just thank you for those percentages, because that's going to add a lot to that discussion. Like, it's fantastic to know that almost half will stay longer now that they've received the information of what they can do in the area. So much appreciated.
Thanks, Councillor.
I think also, Rao, having a 98.9% said they were very satisfied from the face-to-face opportunity to visit an information centre. Keeps on telling me digital's there for some, face-to-face is there for others, and we have an amazing opportunity with visitor numbers, and the percentage of people who are very satisfied is something that everybody should be very proud of, the way they're achieving that. Councillor Carter.
I just want to reiterate what Ralph said about the book launch. It was great to see 75 people there. Obviously, it was great to see a roll-up of people from all over the state at that gathering. And it was well attended, and it's very much appreciated.
Councillor Johnston.
I just want to reiterate what you have said, Mayor, around that 98.9% about the your experience face-to-face. I think that goes well beyond information centres, and I think it's something that we as a council should recognise, and I suppose I would extend that to things like the online centre and things like that. Digital is one way, but we need that on. We need to be able to support people, whether they're visitors or our own people, to have these face-to-face opportunities.
Okay, we have no further. We're going to take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous. Thank you. 25.13.4 is the budget estimates. Rao, would you like to talk us through this one, please?
Certainly, thank you, Mayor. Before I do, could I just note that thanks to Councillor Carter this morning, who came to see me, and he's just noted that there's a minor typo in the balance sheet as it's printed in the agenda. I've provided the updated version to Linda for inclusion. It just relates to the accumulated surplus in equity. It doesn't have a material difference to the actual outcome, but there is a minor typo there which we will adjust. I don't know, Linda, whether you have that there that you can bring up. No. Look, councillors, as long as you're comfortable for that typo simply to be noted and updated, then I think we can move forward with this item. Is everyone comfortable with that?
Anything else you'd like to add to that before we...
Yeah, I'm happy to talk to the whole item, Mayor. I just really wanted to thank Councillor Carter for noting that. I rang a consultant accountant who was incredibly embarrassed that the formula had failed her, but equally I'm embarrassed that not only had the formula failed her, but I'd not picked up that there was a 4 missing off the front of a very important number.
Very important to have a school teacher on council.
I'm just normally able to spot those things.
I was very thankful for it. So, councillors, the budget estimates, as you know, for the year ahead have been developed through a consultative process with staff and councillors over the last 2 months. Importantly, they align with our long-term financial plan and our financial management strategy. And those 2 documents ensure that we make decisions in the short, medium and long term that put us on a sustainable financial footing. The budget itself includes our capital works program and an important number of works on the ground for the year ahead. And Mayor, really beyond that, we've spoken about this in terms of workshops at length, and I've provided quite a detailed report in the agenda for the community and anyone interested in reading what shapes the budget this year in particular, and yeah, present the budget for endorsement.
Thank you very much, Rao. Somebody move the opposite recommendation. Councillor Chappell, seconded Councillor Wright. Any questions to Rao on the budget estimate? Councillor Drummond.
Through the chair, this is probably because I've been absent for a little while. I just wanted to clarify a couple of things that, even though I was listening into meetings as I could, the installation of new roof-mounted solar panels in St Mary's, is that the St Mary's Hall?
I'm not prepared for individualised answers to these, sorry. Councillor, if you just
Okay,
said...
would you like, I'll just get Jake to come forward to sit alongside you, Rao, and he may be able to help answer that.
Actually, yeah, I can confirm through you, Mayor, that proposed, those proposed alternatives are for Smarysville.
Thank you. I was just thinking with someone reading it, it's not quite clear where they are. That's also remember that I was looking at it.
Sure, yeah, through you, Mayor, there's a separate item there as well for the Smarysville Waste Disposal Centre, which is in relation to a on-site solar system.
Thank you very much, Jake. I've also got one of sorry, would you mind?
Oh, hang on, just get
Cutting the page so that we,
Page number 45, and it's towards the bottom of the page.
thank you.
It just says installation of dual mounted solar panels. I was aware that it was St Mary's Hall had been talked about for some time. I just wasn't sure if that was the one.
Thank you.
that we were talking about. I also had another question in regard to St Mary's Dog Park, because I am receiving a lot of questions. It's a very small budget figure, but I'm getting a lot of questions from people in the community. I note there's a note there that community engagement needs to be undertaken prior to the install to establish a new site. Are you able to throw any light on that, Jack?
No, I'm not. So very through the Mayor. We'll have to take that one on notice as a go.
Because I had assumed it was going to be at the recreation ground, this small one, and I had an email from the Works Department recently that it was going ahead because it was a bit late.
Yep.
And I am getting a lot of community questions about it, so I just want to get clarity. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions around? If there's no questions,
Jack.
I'll take to the vote. All in
Thanks, Jack.
favour?
That's right.
Carried. Unanimous, thank you. 35.13.5 is the rate resolution. Rao, would you like to talk to this one? And I know we've gone through it at our workshops, but just for the sake, would you like to go through this one?
Yeah, no, thank you, Mayor. The budget is, one of our biggest deliverables for the year, but without a rates resolution, we don't have a budget. So our rates resolution this year continues the approach that we've taken for a long time now, and that's the differential rating system that's applied to properties within the municipality. I guess the headline component of that this year is a 3.9% increase to the general rate for the residential properties in particular, with commercial, industrial and some other land uses receiving a 4% increase. Council's been very diligent in its consideration of the rating increases this year, in particular noting the cost of living pressures that many residents in particular are under. We don't take this lightly, needing to raise rates at any point. A 3.9% increase is one of the lower increases that I'm aware of in the state. For a rural council in particular, it's a very low increase this year, but it is an increase which supports, again, the delivery of our long-term financial plan and the delivery of our asset management plans for the year ahead. And I put it forward for endorsement by council.
Thank you very much for that, Ralph. Can I somebody move that council approves the rate resolution? Councillor Fever, seconded Councillor Wright. Any questions for Ralph on the rate resolution? Councillor Johnston?
Mayor, with all due respect, I have a business statement and I
Prefer to ask a question if we can.
I know, I just think it's important because we do a lot in workshop. I think it's important that the community is aware, and I just want to underline what our finance manager, you called, has said, that there has been really great due diligence and consideration about rate increases. And there has been a lot of discussion about how that impacts our community, and I think it is important to note that. And I thank the council staff for their work in this area and the conversations within the council itself. So yes, maybe it's not a question, but I think it's something that needs to be underlined and put to our community as far as transparency and our commitment to to look after those in our community that are just to make sure that we're doing the right thing by our community.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Johnston. Councillor Chapel.
I'd just like to Councillor Johnston on that as well, because it is something that we don't take lightly, and we do a lot of discussions in workshop in regards to this, and we're aware that it affects all our community in different ways.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Chapel. Any other comments or questions? If not, going to take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous. Thank you very much. And Ralph, from me, but on behalf of everybody, thank you and everybody who has worked on this, because we do know how much this means, and our council is no different than anyone else. We have to deal with price increases that we have to wear, and I think everybody will be very happy, or would like to hope, with the 3.9% rate charge.
Thanks
So,
very much.
thank you very much for the work and effort of everybody concerned. 25.13.6 is review of LG40, the rate and charge policy. Brad, would you like to talk to this one?
Certainly, Mayor. Look, councillors, this policy wasn't due for review for another couple of years, but when considering our rates resolution this year, we always refer back to this policy, and it became clear that there were a few references in there that really did need to be reworded. And also, it gave us an opportunity to reference that there will be a fresh municipal revaluation happening in the coming 12 months, which will impact property values across the municipality when we come to talk about rates and our budget next year. And I thought, from a transparency point of view, it was a good opportunity to not only update the policy, but also be able to talk about that today at the meeting and make it quite clear to those who are watching and those who are in the gallery and those who read the agenda that that fresh property valuation is being undertaken in conjunction with the Valuer General. There's a rewording of the infrastructure waste charge and the narrative around that, just to clarify what that charge is collected for, and to make it clear that it is waste infrastructure. We know that within our budget, waste infrastructure is an area where we are going to be spending an enormous amount of money in the coming years on waste compactor, inert landfill cells, and getting our transfer stations up to standard is going to cost money ongoing. And it's just good to be clear to the community, I think, to just name that up as a specific charge that will be there for some time to come. And the reference to the urban stormwater charge too, look, that had been sitting in there for quite some time. It's certainly not saying that that won't happen at another point in time, but right now our focus really isn't in an urban stormwater charge. It would be more likely to be a specific area charge. So that was an update there as well. So Mayor, that's an overview of the changes to the policy, and I'll put it forward for council consideration.
Thank you very much for that, Ralph. And that's not whether you move or the recommendation. Councillor Carter, seconded Councillor Holden. Any comments to Ralph? Because I think it's really good that we understand that next 12 months there will be new valuations, which are out of council control. Council have no say in this, but we do wear the consequences of it, unfortunately, for better or worse. It's how it is. So, any questions or comments?
Just a comment, it's not really a question and answer, Mayor. It's really saying that notifying people of that valuation, I think, is really important. In my 11 years, it's been really difficult to convey that to our ratepayers, that rate, that re-evaluation has a flow-on effect to us that we have no real control over. So I think that's a really positive thing to have in there. I also like the fact very much that you've broken down the waste management, because that's something that does get talked about frequently and people don't really understand it. And I think the fact that we are going to be spending a huge amount on infrastructure over the next couple of years, that's a really important issue to have up front so that people can see it. So I'd like to thank Raoul and his department for
putting that in there and reviewing. I think it's really valid and really good to have that. Thank you.
Very much agree, Councillor Drummond. It's like the waste charges. Unfortunately, state government have got an increase in the waste levy that is continuing year after year, and we have no control over that, but we do have to pay it. So the more we can keep away from landfill and we can recycle and reuse, the better. Councillor Johnston.
I just want to reiterate what both Councillor Drummond and you, Mayor, have said, and to that, and what Raoul has said about transparency and maybe just getting the message out there, in particular about these people that come in and reevaluate people's land values. Is there a way we can, my question I suppose, or is, and it might not be to you, but it's, can we get this out when they're coming around? Like, can we get it out through our newsletter? Can we have it as, you know, a headline on the website or something that people are aware of? I know it's not a council thing, but it does assist the council, and, you know, we are here in the chamber. Yes, that's great. Some people read the agenda. Some people are here. Thank you for being here. But, you know, there's thousands of people that aren't. And
Through you, Mayor, our intention is to include a reference to it in our rates notices that go out this year in our newsletter. And that's being finalised as we speak. So
thank you.
using that as a vehicle, it should get to every ratepayer.
Yep, thank you.
But I know that Jane in particular will be working hard to get more information out as it comes to hand. But also, when we get a confirmed schedule from the contractor as to when they will start actually undertaking the valuation, that's yet to be provided to us. So that does make communication a little challenging at this point.
I do think it's really relevant that we're putting in with the rates notices. The complication or a fallout from that is that sometimes tenants don't get rate notices, but their rent is increased because the value of the property has been increased. So I think the more generalised view of trying to advertise it as widely as we can is really relevant, because it does impact all of our residents, not just the ratepayers, but those who are tenanted as well. So, and it's important for them to understand and know as well. So thank you. Thank you, Councillor Johnston.
Okay, we have no further questions on this. I'm going to take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 25.13.7 is the audit panel minutes. Would you like to come forward, Rachel? Oh, I thought you was coming up to talk to us. That says it all. Raoul, it looks like it's over to you, mate.
Look, I'll take it on. Councillors, the audit panel minutes, given the length and the amount of items that could have been brought to you today, I've attempted to wrap 3 decisions into your endorsement of the audit panel minutes. Those are the audit panel annual work plan for 2025-26, the adoption of the minutes from the audit panel meeting of the 2nd of June, which include the audit panel work plan for 25-26, and they also include the report from the audit panel chair regarding execution of duties and responsibilities by the audit panel during the reporting period, which is the current financial year. The audit panel minutes are, they're detailed. They provide the information required there. It's been, I have to thank Councillor Fever for attending literally every single audit panel meeting. Councillor Wright attended as many as she possibly could under some pretty trying circumstances this year. It's a big undertaking being a member of the audit panel. It's a really important component of what we do to provide council with surety that not just the reports that come to council are checked by officers who have the qualifications to do that, but they're also checked independently by an auditor who has decades of experience of looking at these things. For example, the budget estimates, the rates resolution, the long-term financial plan were all checked prior to them coming to this meeting by the audit panel. So, Mayor, in wrapping up the work of the audit panel for this year, these are the final minutes for 24-25, and the audit panel chair notes that it was a good year. We do need more of a focus on internal audit next year. That was one area that he did bring up, and we have an internal audit program that's just been approved by the audit panel for us to deliver next year. So, councillors, with that as a general overview, I seek your endorsement of the recommendations associated.
Thank you very much for that, Ralph. Can I have somebody move the officer's recommendation? Councillor Beaver, a second from Councillor Carter. Any questions for Ralph on the audit panel minutes? I think you spoke very well about all of that, Ralph, and I think we all appreciate Councillor Beaver and Councillor Wright's dedication to the audit panel from this council, and we thank everybody who has anything to do right across the board in our offices here who work with you and everybody else to make this happen. So thanks very much. Can I take this to the vote? Carried unanimous. Thank you. 35, 2014, 25, the works and infrastructure
Thanks.
report. Good morning, David.
Thanks, councillors. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Oh, it's you today.
Yeah,
Okay.
Our Manager of Infrastructure and Development Services is on leave at the moment, so I'll address the report there as well. So, Works Department provided a detailed report in relation to activities. I think importantly, I'm just going to flick through to the Capital Works program and note that the last of the LRCI projects is complete, as I understand it, and that is the rehabilitation work on Alexander Street at Cornwall. If you're in the area, go and have a look. There's been some curb and gutter laid, and there's been some great improvements to the pavement up there, which has always been a problematic location there as well. Bridges, the approach barriers that were to be fitted by the contractor in early June, believe they've been installed on the bridges there as well, and they look quite impressive. Apart from that, Mr Mayor, it's sort of, as noted, quite a few have now been completed as well, and some of the other ones to do with waste management are longer term projects as well.
Thank you for that, John. Can I have somebody move that the report be received? Councillor Drummond, seconded Councillor Chappell. Any comments to John on the report? Councillor Johnson?
I note here that the report for weed management is unavailable at this time of preparing this report. Wondering, again, I feel that that's a very important thing that's we need to know about, and I do appreciate the fact that we have May and June here, so we've got some of what we've done and what we're going to do. I'm just wondering when that will be made available.
Three, Mr Mayor. I'm unsure as to why after that in June the weed officer was on leave of some form at that
Okay.
time. But certainly in the next agenda we'll include both months.
Yep.
Reported there.
Yep.
Also.
And I do want to note and thank the Works Department for now giving us what has been done and what's going to be done in the month that we're in. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I'm going to take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 25.14.2 is the animal control report, which was dealt with at workshop. Can I have somebody move that the report be received? Councillor Wright and seconded Councillor Carter.
Through Mr Mayor, I'll just comment on one thing. I think the manager might have made councillors aware of one of our activities where we had infringed a gentleman for a dog at large and dog attacking another one. Got challenged, taken to Magistrates Court. Magistrates Court 2 weeks ago. They were there and we were represented, and it was a successful outcome for council. in that the charge was found proven and a fine was levied on the gentleman as well. So it's good. It was a good outcome. Send a clear message that it can't be tolerated, this sort of activity.
Exactly. Okay, we have no questions. I'll take this to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous. Thank you. 25.15.1 is the Community Service Report. Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Chris.
Would you like to walk us through your report, please, Chris?
Certainly, Mayor. In the report, we've provided an update from Parks and Wildlife in regards to St Columba Falls. If we get any more reports on progress, we will certainly report through this forum. As Councillor Carter said about the Bay of Fires Master Plan, we're just waiting on the draft, but we do have a vacant position at the moment, and so that's closing at the end of this month on the 30th. We still have events happening, which is great. Quite a few people over the long weekend in our area, which was great. And there's no health and wellbeing report because we're staff members down at this stage. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Can I have somebody move the officers' report to be received? Councillor Beaver, seconded Councillor Carter. Any questions on Community Services report, please?
No questions, comments, just well done on the Learn and Drive mentor program, successfully secured a car so that program can
Yes, fully agree. Any other questions, Councillor Drummond?
I've just got a question in regard to the scope of works for the rail trail. I see there's $100,000 allocated in the budget. I'm just curious as to what the next stages are with that, so I can talk to community, because there is a lot of questions.
Mayor, the scope of works are sitting on my list of things to do, and hope to get to that this week, just to work my way through that, and then we'll be ready to go out and get expert assistance to finalise the scope of works with that one.
Councillor Johnson.
That was one of my questions, so that's great. Thank you, Councillor Drummond. Just looking at the Bay of Fires Master Plan and looking for a strong commitment to environment conservation, a new person, and that it closes on June 30. Those applications, my question is, how have we been able to, how are we advertising that? Are we doing that through Facebook or through?
Through email, so social media,
Yeah.
our council newsletter,
Yeah.
and our council website, and we've asked our members of the steering committee to also promote it.
I'm just wondering if, because I think we would have, is there a list of people, environment groups that we could, or groupings of environment, like local community environment groups that we could just make sure that we're getting it on to their Facebook pages, or I'm just thinking to get it out there through we have established groups, so, yeah, so.
And we've also used the we've also used the agenda too. That's why I've put the whole application in there, the expression of interest in there. So councillors, please feel free to share with whoever that you have, because you're connected through NRM, and you know you have better community. And we've asked Polly to share as well.
Okay, so that's a direct request. We can get that out to people.
Public, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I think as a council we need to keep a really close eye on the St Columba Falls incident. That happened 10 months ago, and for me to still have engineers involved is ridiculous, and I very much doubt if it's going to be open for summer. Now, that the businesses in the Pine-Ganna area must be absolutely hemorrhaging as a result, and it's also going to affect the greater East Coast. I've seen 2 lots of data from the amount of people that visit St Columba. One is 40,000, one is 60. If you average that out of 50,000, that's nearly 1,000 people per week. You take those out of the equation, or some of them, some might divert to another location to, you know, to spend their daytimes at. I just wonder, if it's not open in summer, if those businesses should be getting compensation from the state government. I just think it's something we should keep a really close eye on and push really hard for it to be open.
Chris, whilst, if I may, Councillor Beaver, would it be appropriate at this council once again write another letter to Parks council like to see if we should write another letter to Parks?
I certainly would. Don't know about other councillors.
Okay, can I get...
Mayor, could I just respond to that? Because I agree that we should, but acknowledging that we really need to be very much aware of what they've said here as far as health, as far as safety, because of course we want within. I'm just saying with the tone of with the letter. It's yes, I hear what you're saying about businesses. It's very important that we also acknowledge the at the same time the very much that we want this to be safe for visitors, because the last thing is we don't want to push. Sorry, we don't want to push a start date on them and it not be safe. That's all.
Councillor Johnson, the letter would not be telling them to build anything that was not safe or start without the required.
Yeah, just would like us to acknowledge that.
Just trying to put pressure on Parks that we need to see something happening and we'd like to know when it's going to happen. Nothing to do with safety. Councillor Oldham.
I fully agree with what's been said, yeah, like the St Columba Falls being one of our premier tourist attractions. At the moment, like, people can still drive to there and they can view the falls. It's the walking track, and I guess there'd be people that, because of age or mobility, might not want to walk in, but they can still view the falls and attend the other attractions in the area.
Thank you, Councillor Oldham. Councillor Drummond.
Through the chair, just picking up on what Councillor Johnson said, I think we've heard in this room today that some of our own work has been held up due to lack of resources and lack of ability to engage with contractors. I think we need to be mindful that possibly the same situation is happening with Parks. They're under the pump. They've got very limited resources on the ground with their workers and their ability to get contractors. So yes, whilst I would really like to see St Columba Falls reopened, I think we do need to be aware of the fact that everyone is under pressure, us as a council and Parks as well as a department. So, yeah.
No problems at all with that, Councillor Drummond, but I do think the onus is on us as a council to put a letter to Parks requesting not just an update of why they're not doing it or what's got to be done. I'd like to know when they intend to do it. Is it going to be done before this summer season or not?
Yeah.
So would somebody like to put a motion forward, or
Mr Mayor, we'll just take it as action from this
an action from this discussion?
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody's in favour of that? Carried unanimous, thank you. If we have nothing else on that one to discuss, will I have somebody move? Yes, I did. I take this to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 25.15.2 is the appointment of a councillor as a council representative on the Access Inclusion Advisory Committee. So, Chris, would you like to...
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I would actually. So Councillor Carter has put his hand up to be the second councillor on that committee. But I also want to take the opportunity to sincerely thank Councillor Drummond for the work that she has done in getting this committee to where it is. Her passion and her knowledge is exemplary, and without her input in the initial stages, I don't think we'd be where we are today. So I really would like to say thank you.
So the recommendation is to appoint Councillor Carter, and it sounds like Councillor Wright would like to do a tag team on this one.
I think if we can support each other on it, because there'll be times where I, as we've known with my health stuff, aren't
You'd
not
be able to
available.
be a proxy fill in if there's...
Yes, I'd be probably better as a proxy fill in.
Okay. And you're happy with that, Councillor Carter?
Are you happy with
Sorry,
that?
could you just clarify what that means? Proxy...
If you are unavailable, you are not there, Councillor Wright will be able to fill in your place to make sure the committee could still...
I think what we're talking about here is the chair of the committee, and what I would recommend here is that when Kylie's health allows, that she chairs the meeting.
Okay,
She's got 3 years' experience, and that I would step in cases of her incapacity to attend.
Okay, yeah, I'm
That's
fine.
the arrangement that we have talked about.
We sort of loosely did talk about that, but I wasn't sure if there'd been some other...
A nomination for the committee, and at this stage, Kylie will take the chair, and I will step in when required.
Okay. Councillor Drummond.
Can I just add, I have said to Councillor Carter and to Councillor Wright that I am available if they want to run anything by me from the past 11 years that I spent on the committee.
Thank you very much, Councillor Drummond. I'm sure they'll appreciate your help. Okay, if everybody's sort of happy, anybody got any comments? We're happy, we'll take this to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Congratulations to
The two of you.
both of you. Well, look, it's 11 o'clock now. I think we've got a little bit to go.
One more.
One more? Oh, you've got one more. Righty-ho, Chris. One more and then we'll stop
All
for
about me.
for a coffee break.
Thank you, Mayor. And this is in regard to council allocating some funds so that we could purchase our new learner driver car. As mentioned previously, we did a lot of groundwork trying to get a suitable car to replace, and we found one, the Skoda, a lot cheaper than what any of the others were. And I thank councillors for their input in the emails when I sent it. So this is to support that we pay an additional $7,955 and 39 cents for the purchase of the car, the driver car.
Councillor Drummond and seconded Councillor Oldham. Any comments on this, apart from congratulations?
Yeah, I just think congratulations. It's such a vital programme, and it's unfortunate we lost the vehicle for that period of time, and the prompt actions of the staff have meant that we now got a brand new vehicle to get the programme up and running again.
Councillor Wright?
And I was going to say, well done on finding and sourcing the vehicle and being able to get to that promise.
Councillor Oldham?
Drive somewhere, Vaughan.
That's right.
They've got to learn to drive it. Yes, they do.
Okay, we're going to take this to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, and we'll stop for a quick coffee break. We'll have 10 minutes, thank you. Okay, 25.16.1 is a development services report. Good morning, Jake. Could you walk us through your report, mate?
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Just wanted to highlight the work we do in the strategic planning space. Will inform council policy, planning policy moving forward. Tidying up grant information relating to the St Mary's multi-purpose and evacuation centre. And so, yeah, that's probably the core work I'm doing in that space at the moment. And Polly just has a couple of little updates as well we'd like to share with councillors.
Polly, would you like to add to that, please?
Thank you, Jake.
Hey, good morning, Polly.
Good morning. Thank you through Mr Mayor. I just wanted to add regarding the Scamander coastal and hazardous project is underway and moving very quickly. We have a community consultation organised now for the 23rd. Coming up very soon, and also people would have noticed that after 4 attempts, the Scamander River Barway was finally opened, which is a testament to the challenges faced, and that's after the water level got quite high around road infrastructure as well.
Polly, on that one, while you were there, is it possible to have any updates on the cat management issue at Walbra, how that's progressing?
Through Mr Mayor, just quickly, we are engaging a cat trapping specialist to come and help us plan trapping exercises there. The RSPCA is keen for all council to do some work with Walbra. We also have a colony developing in Scamander we need to deal with and head off before it becomes hundreds of cats. So we're working towards that and from our staff more trained up and start to prepare to be active in that area, managing populations that are a problem.
No, that's really good to hear, Polly. Thank you. Anything else you'd like to add, Jake?
Happy to take questions, Matt.
Okay, can I get somebody to move the report we received? Councillor Oldham, seconded Councillor Johnson. And any questions to Jake on the report, please? Councillor Johnson?
First of all, thanks for the report. Can I, just Polly, can you explain what a colony or a group of problem cats is? Like what is there a size, is there a definition, is there a, do you know what I mean? Just so that, you know, okay, I will, for me, I know there's 5 roaming cats in Falmouth. Is that a colony? Or is it, just so that I understand a little bit more? Thank you.
Through Mr Mayor, I don't think there's an absolute definition certainly on numbers. Probably the key thing is that wild feral cats survive on their own without any human support, and they're all over Tasmania. Pet cats that are loved at home are kept at home and get all their support from their owners. And there's a large area of stray roaming cats, and they tend to find some way of getting some sustenance and protection from humans. And probably our colonies occur when people deliberately, out of sympathy, start feeding cats.
Okay.
They're not de-sexed. They very quickly breed up into a colony.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Polly. Do you have any questions to Jake on his report? Councillor Drummond?
Chair, if I may, on page 112, I was wondering what that was. On page 112, assessment of the final grant acquittal reporting for the Fingal Shed and the St Mary's Multi-Purpose Evacuation Centre. And I noticed in the budget earlier on there was some reference. We've received the first payment of $250,000. Where do we stand now with regard to another election being called and the outstanding $250,000?
Through Mr Mayor, of course under a grant due that exists, that's fine.
So it doesn't matter if the government changes or...
There's a signed contract.
Okay, thank you.
They do all of that, they put it in their forward estimates, so that it's actually fully budgeted for.
I just wanted to be sure on that because that was a concern of mine way back when we decided to put that additional $500,000 in, and then I thought, oh Lord, you know. So thank you for that. That was all. That's my question. Done.
I was just going to add that further to that, it was quite distinct in the grant agreement that they wouldn't invoice that second payment until after the 1st of July.
Right.
So the works are effectively
Yeah, I
completed.
remember that.
We just need to wait until post 1st of July invoice and then we can quit the grant.
Great. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Councillor Johnson?
Just with the Scamander by Morris structure, township structure plan. So I see that's 100% complete, then we'll have a new thing. Like, that's just to get the people in place, because now has to continue the actual project itself.
That's right,
Yep.
So through you, we're actually ahead of schedule because the annual plan objectives was just to basically develop a brief and engage the consultant.
Okay.
So we're actually a little bit ahead of the game.
Okay.
So there'll be a new annual plan action.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have any further questions? If not, I'm going to take to the vote. All in favour? Carried. Unanimous. Thank you. 25.16.2 is the Falmouth Toilet Block project. Jake?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Good to get this on the agenda. This matter has been workshop, but just to cover off, yeah, obviously a pretty successful engagement and very good engagement from the Falmouth residents. And yeah, thanks again to Joan with her assistance in relation to collating that engagement, or coordinating engagement and collating the feedback document, which is there for your information. The key outcomes of that consultation phase have been sort of summarised in the table within the report, which I've provided some feedback in relation to those, I guess, key issues that have been raised. The design concerns effectively have been, I guess, addressed by reducing the bulk, because we've reduced the building from 3 pans to 2. So effectively the overall size and height of the building's now been reduced to suit. The budget allocation for the project has just been approved, so subject to council's decision right now, we'll be pressing on with the work as soon as we're finished at Bingalong Bay. Like you showed there. So the project is exempt from planning approval, but we do need to get Crown consent. That's currently pending. At this stage, the necessary reports that were required aren't identifying any major hurdles. So, yeah, got the recommendations there for council and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Jake. Can I have somebody move the opposite recommendation? Councillor Feed, with respect to Councillor Drummond. Any questions on Jake, Councillor Drummond?
It's more of a comment on the process. I'd like to, I don't know if there's a question on that, I'd really like to thank Jake and Jane for the community consultation that happened. I was heavily engaged in that and talking with the community, and I think the outcome is a really positive one for the community, in that they, I believe, have got what they desired as a community, and council worked with them to achieve that objective. I think there's a learning process in there though, in that, and I know that GM has always said we need something to go to the community with to show them to start the process. In this instance, I think it was pretty clear that the options were there. We could have presented the options without having had the plans drawn up and everything that was drawn up, because when we did go to the community, their reaction was, no, we don't want any of that. So Jake and his team had done a lot of work to get us to that point, and then it was basically rebutted by the community. So in that way, it might have been better to go to the community and say, what is it that you would like to see coming out of this, and then go away and get those plans, etc., and those ideas pulled together. It was just an observation, and I think we've come to a fantastic outcome, but I wonder if there was a lot of work involved for Jake and the team beforehand, getting us to, and Jane, not forgetting Jane, to that point of taking that to the community, simply to have it said, no, we don't want that, we want something completely different. And then the team worked brilliantly to achieve that, I think. So that's just my observation and comment on the process.
Thank you very much, Councillor Drummond. I think there's good learnings every time we do anything. There's always learnings that we take out of everything that we do. And Jake, I think, and Jane, and everybody involved who's been involved in the consultation and the upgrade plans has done an amazing job. And at the end of the day, we've now got something that can be passed that's supported by community.
Yep.
And we need the toilet block there, so we can't just go without one. So I think it's a good outcome for everybody. Councillor Johnson?
I've got a bit of a conflict of interest. I live in Falmouth. However, I would also like to, which I spoke of in our workshop, thank both yourself and Jane for the work that you did at the meeting and with the community, and Councillor to my left here was there. And it was a really good process, I agree. And as you've said, Mayor, we can always learn from things that we've done. So, you know, we're always learning every day. So it would be good to have a look at the good things that came out of that so that we can implement them, especially as we speak with community about all these important things that are coming to us now, like the structure plans, different things that are coming. It was a really excellent process. My question is, because I am very much aware that there was issues to do with what it looked like, the height, the size. I understand the size has been reduced. Has the height, how do you, I'm just foreshadowing, I suppose, have we let the community know about the height? And do you feel that that has come down to a specific height that will be amenable to, you know, a very engaged community?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. We did intend to inform the community subsequent to this decision that this is proposed. This opportunity to make comment. At the end of the day, it's very difficult to satisfy everybody's desires in relation to the design and the concepts of our toilets. It's very hard to find a happy balance with everybody. But you know, I think that, you know, this is the first project where we've used this designer, and so, you know, he's obviously provided his bit of a touch in relation to the aesthetics. And whilst one person might not think that it looks good, another person might think it looks great. So I think that, yeah, because of the overall size, then the pitch of the roof, the total height at the highest point of the building has reduced. And so, yeah, I'm quietly confident that, you know, with that reduced bulk, that it receives.
You can understand that was one of the very big concerns, was the height, and because aesthetically, the area, I mean, people visit there, it's quite a wild, you know, for want of another word, wild area, you know, like it's quite a natural space. So I'm just, you know, asking the question if you feel, after your consultation with the community, that we've got to a sweet spot.
Let's see it. Through you. Happy medium.
Okay, thank you.
I think we've got a plan that we need to approve so that it can get on with it. Otherwise, it will never get built, and we're not going to supply everybody a shovel. So if we can take this to the vote, all in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 25.16.3 is the upgrades and additions to the Falmouth Community Centre, Jake.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So on the same day prior to that community session about the toilet, we held Jane and I held a meeting with the Falmouth Community Centre Committee, and the agenda and minutes are attached for your information. So some designs were prepared subsequent to that meeting and then circulated to the committee for their final feedback. There's just some very minor detail that they wanted to have attended to, which we've done that. And the budget allocation has now been approved, so all going well. We hope to get onto that project in similar timing to the toilet.
Thank you for that, Jake. Can somebody move the opposite recommendation? Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Drummond. Thank you very much for that, Jake. Excuse me. Any comments or any questions? More than statements.
I have a question.
Thank you.
The question is, it's on page 156 where the diagram is, and it's regarding the dual swinging door, KN11, and it's going to have a lockable wall hook to allow the door to be kept open. I just had comments from the committee regarding, originally they said about not having a door there. My question is, in the design, do we believe now that that latch door will remove the door from being in the way when they restock the bar? Because that was their concern with that door.
Yeah, look, it's pretty minor detail in relation to the function of the door. They also had a query about the door from the play space area, and so we didn't think it was warranted. So the swing of the doors and the orientation of the doors and the way they swing, you know, we'll consult with them most of the day once we reach the feedback stage.
Yeah. That was all. I just was aware that they were concerned about the restocking, and to me, when I read it, I thought the latch was potentially to get the door out of the way so they could restock quite readily.
So thank you, Jake. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, if we have no further questions, I'll take this as a vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. Thanks very much, Jake. 25.17.1 is the General Manager's report, so John, this one's over to you, mate.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a couple of things to highlight and draw attention to, just in relation to a meeting I had last Friday with the Local Government Learning Development Governance Group. That was the final meeting of that particular group that sat under the Office of Local Government, because the framework is now transitioning through to responsibility of LGAT. There's 3 modules left to be finalised, and obviously the Office of Local Government will continue. They've agreed to facilitate that happening. Once again, encourage councillors to complete the modules as they become available, etc. We, as a council, we're probably mid-pack in terms of progress when compared to other councils as well. So we're getting there. So that one is there. In relation to St Mary's childcare analysis, so I've noted there the progress with that report's coming along well. Also noted there that the Department of Education, Children and Young People have an expression of interest process open to providers interested in using a DSIP property for a location for childcare. St Mary's wasn't on the list, which was slightly surprising for me, but the department is well aware of the interest and actively involved in it. So it's a slight, caused me to stop and think why they didn't do that. It's probably just a matter of timing. Then just in relation to the education project, we do have the consultant organised for a presentation on that at the August council workshop as well. So quite a bit of work going on in that respect as well, Mr Mayor. Probably those are just the key things that I had there that I just wanted to highlight, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, John. Can I have somebody move the General Manager's report? Councillor Fever, seconded Councillor Chappell. Any questions to John on the General Manager's report, please? Councillor Carter.
Not expecting an answer now. I'm just interested to know what sort of conversation with Sustainable Gyms Tasmania is there any concern for us to be aware of in that conversation?
Yeah, it's probably just more of a little general one around these are the coops that are going to be harvested over the next 3 years, and then just a bit of a conversation around some of the roads, that the infrastructure challenges that they are experiencing, maintaining a large network of roads, and they did offer to hand some across the council for responsibility, and I thank them for their generous offer, but I declined on council's behalf as an executive decision. But certainly they're feeling the pressures of some of the, in relation to some of these roads, and we know that they've closed some roads or reduced maintenance on some roads in the past, but there are others there which they need to continue to maintain. So.
Any other questions?
Also make a comment about I guess there's a number of things in here that highlight what you're going on here with, but our General Manager and people like Steve Wally, Leah Page are involved in a very exciting project which is referenced a couple of times in here, but I just want to say, as I am privileged to be part of that group, and I'm hugely impressed with the energy that they put to that task and the experience they bring to that task. So we have people coming from all over Tasmania to attend those forums, and so congratulations to the General Manager and the key people in that who put all this together for us. A great opportunity for our community. It needs to be applauded, and I guess I'm trying to say, let's make sure the whole community is really aware of the quality of what's going on there.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carter, and I think, John, I think we're all very much supportive of what's happening with the university, etc., and the workload that people have put into it to make it happen. It's going to be an awesome thing for Tasmania, but for St Helens it's an amazing opportunity.
Certainly abroad, in relation to education education that Councillor Carter has mentioned there as well, and the people that are interested and committed to actually making a difference to particularly the 8 to 19-year-olds and participation in education, and not just participation but also completion in that. It's just vital for building the skills and providing opportunities to our young people, and enhancing their future prospects. So, but yeah, it's really good to see that, and it was pleasing. Like the St Mary's School principal was there at this last forum and really participated actively, and St Mary's are so engaged with this project on a number of levels now, which is great to see as well. So,
Councillor Johnson.
Thank you for the update and answers to those, General Manager. Just on Sustainable Timber Tasmania, so you receive an update of where they will be harvesting, and I'm just wondering, would it be appropriate for us to, you get a 3-year plan, I don't know how often you look at have those meetings, but to make that available to our community, because some people live close by, etc. Just a point, you know, you get the information, maybe it would be useful for our community to know.
through Mr Mayor, I'm pretty certain it's published on their website as well.
Yes.
Information, so we didn't get any information beyond what's already been put out there to the public, but more than happy to have that information available or provide a link to that.
Okay, that would be great. Yeah, thank you.
That's, single source of truth there with that, rather than replicate it and goes out of date. So.
But I think if we're getting, you know, that's good information, and providing a link so people are aware, that's great. Thank you.
Councillor Ryan. Councillor Carter.
Thank you. I just wondered if you could give us any further information on the Taswater thing. I guess when I see that there, I get terribly excited when I look at the water tower at Avoca every time I drive past it. I'm just wondering if that's something that might be intended for our community. Taswater's looking for artists with a strong connection to Tasmania's east coast to help bring a unique public art trail to life. Page.
Further down.
Sorry. Have I jumped?
Oh, over that, yeah. 163.
163.
Come forward, Jane. We'd love to see you on camera.
So I've been working with the project manager at Taswater, just helping them get out the community, the engagement basically, so they had an expression of interest that went out. So we publicised that on our social media a few times, and also we emailed it out to our community groups and artists that we already were aware of, and we also encouraged Taswater to contact Arts Tasmania and send it to their extensive list as well. So yeah, I think there's 6 in our area, 6 different locations. So yeah, and they're planning on work, and we also gave them some stakeholders. So for example, in Scamander, one of them is near the Life Saving Club, so I've asked them to speak directly to them and give them some contacts as well for people to talk to.
Fantastic.
Councillor Brown.
Question to John, going backwards, sorry. We've talked about the St Mary's Childcare Analysis, page 161. I was just wondering what the next stages are with that and when there is some expected outcome from that, John.
So through Mr Mayor, yes, once that is completed, there's 2 stages to the project. This piece and then the broader East Coast one, but there's some areas one then places in a position to be able to sort of work with DSIP regarding the outcomes, or a community group, not necessarily council. We've just got the grant due to do this work. It's not our project. So if I look at the current expression of interest process, they've invited providers to put forward an expression of interest used properly. So I would expect that they would open up an EOI process rather than just go direct to the current provider to see if anyone's interested in pursuing that further. So
any time frame?
the overall report is due for completion, I think, at the end of August. The St Mary's component is quite close to that. The draft has been received. They've got some more data to put in there as well. But they've been running both pieces together, so in parallel largely.
Okay, if we have no further questions, I'll take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 25.17.2 is NTDC Quarterly Report. Would you like to speak to that one, John?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's just been provided as an update on activities. Happy to take questions and hopefully I can answer them, Mr Mayor.
Anyone would like to ask a question John can't answer? You've got off lightly, Mr Brown. Can I have somebody move the officer's recommendation? That's Councillor Wright, seconded Councillor Carter. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 27.17.3 is East Coast Tourism Memorandum of Understanding. John, would you like to speak to this?
Yep, thank you, Mr Mayor. So Council has recently received a presentation from East Coast Has Tourism on this. As noted, we have an MOU which is a 3-year term. It's coming up to that point in time where we need to enter into a new revised MOU with East Coast Has Tourism. We've provided an increased funding level to $70,000 per annum for this. As I noted in the workshop, if you applied, it was 2015 that the original 60,000 was granted, and there'd been no increase in that period of time. Hobart CPI applied to it would be substantially above $70,000 as a thing, and I think there's probably merit in considering, and it's a matter for the board at a future time, is to actually make it adjusted by CPI or something rather than these lumpy movements. But obviously the new MOU reflects the future focus of East Coast Has Tourism and details Council's expectations for the next couple of years as well. So happy to discuss and take questions, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Can I have somebody move this, please? Councillor Carter, seconded. Councillor Chappell. Anyone would like to ask any questions on this? Councillor Carter.
It's not so much a question or a comment. Councillor Lefevre often reports on the makeup of that board that oversees all this investment, and I think now that we've got a stronger representation, we're certainly getting a better value for our dollar as well through this process.
Councillor Drummond.
Chair, I'm just curious to know, or if we do know, we might not know, what the other councils on the East Coast are contributing to the, like what do Dorset contribute and what to Glamorgan Spring Bay?
Through Mr Mayor, there's only Glamorgan Spring Bay, and they contribute the same. Dorset is within Visit Northern Tasmania.
Okay.
So it's only 2 councils in this one.
Okay.
Which means that compared to other council areas,
We pay it
we
more.
pay more.
Yeah.
And that because of that. It's not an equal amount, if I could put it that way. Like VNT have a bigger budget overall there as well, and same with Destination Southern Tasmania and the Northwest one.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Councillor Johnson.
You talked about the Hobart CPI. Is that what we use? Just, this is my lack of knowledge about CPIs.
Generally, yes. It's based around.
Can I ask another question? Are they different to what, like, you know, is the CPI different from, for example, down there in the south or Launceston in the north? Is there another measure that we can use? That's all.
Through Mr Mayor, the ABS is only run a capital cities index. They don't go down to smaller areas, so that means we have to use the Hobart CPI or your ordinary CPI for the whole nation. So Hobart is the smallest of those.
And I acknowledge what you just said, that perhaps instead of it being such a large increase, that we look at this each year and CPI instead of, because it's quite a, you know, something's 60,000, was it? And we're increasing by 10, it is a big whack in a year, if you know what I mean. But I hear what you're saying, and so I'm hoping that into the future it is something that we can look at.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. I suppose what raising this enables our local representative on the board to go back and say it was a discussion that maybe they need to consider a CPI approach within future agreements.
Oh, Councillor Fever, great to see you write that down. Okay, we have any further questions? If not, I'll take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous. Thank you. 25.17.4 is the annual plan. John, would you like to go through this?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In the officer's report, summarised what the major projects which were going to be completed in the current year, and then also included in there some narrative around the ones which we've got ongoing and the new ones which we've added, which are within the table there. So certainly the current activity which is continuing and the potential new activity, those potential new activities have all been included in the annual plan there as well. And then there was the spreadsheet attached, which will get put into Cascade ultimately with council's endorsement there. But I think like we've still got quite a load. We've had a lot of things we've finished. We've got quite a load that we've got there as well. And then there's a few others which obviously key ones which are coming in, like the economic development strategy implementation. With that, there's Billon Bay, St Helens livability strategy. Focus around waste management. And then if we look at the corporate piece, there's quite a significant piece there which we want to wrap up as well. So over the last couple of years under our guidance, we've made substantial progress in relation to asset management and our asset management system, and this is really about drawing it together, completing the last few pieces of the jigsaw puzzle, and then we've got a great platform. Council's seen the piece around the sealed roads. There's all the other pieces there in relation to buildings, unsealed roads, bridges, those components there, which help to support our long-term financial plan, but also plays a vital role in the budget process and how we frame the budget, because we need to make sure that we're looking after our assets and funding them appropriately. So there's quite a number of smaller ones there that we want to complete this year, and then the other piece is really in relation to IT, and there's a few pieces there. Yes, digital transformation project which we've been working on, you've seen small pieces of that. Cyber security is another major piece where we have got things in place, but we actually need to go further in what we're doing. So, and that's a really vital piece of our IT. So those are the highlights there, Mr Mayor. I'm happy to work through the plan in detail if councillors would like, or I'm happy to take questions. I'll be guided by councillors to what they would like to do.
I'll get somebody to move the officer's recommendation. Councillor Chappell, seconded Councillor Lefevre, and I'll open it to the floor. Would you like our General Manager to go through step by step with this, or is there any particular question somebody would like to ask?
Some elaboration would be great.
Yeah, I'd like
Okay.
to.
Okay. Yep, sure. Okay. So in relation to the first goal around community, so obviously we've included, there's a lot of standard items, so I'm going to highlight a few of the other ones. So certainly the Fingal 200-year celebration is something which is a piece of work we'll be working with the local community on in the year ahead. We've got the arts and cultural strategy there, which there's been work happening. So this is about bringing that particular project to a completion there as well. As I mentioned in relation to the economic development strategy, yes, that will be coming to council for adoption early in the next reporting year. But equally too, we've included some elements out of that as a starting point there around economic leadership and also business diversification. And no doubt that economic development project officer will bring some reports through the council in coming months around implementation there as well. The thread through this is obviously the completion of the strategic regional partnership projects. The childcare one is there. AFI's master plan there as well. When we move through population, obviously had some conversations with Delara in relation to the population strategy. So that's something we'll be looking at how we develop that, and that potential will be developed in-house over the coming year as well. One of the ones which hasn't been really actioned yet at the strategic regional partnership level is the population piece. So also had a housing component too, which they've not moved forward yet. It's interesting to note that the things that are really only moving forward in the Eastern Strategic Regional Partnership are things that the two councils and the East Coast Tas Tourism are working on. So we haven't got a lot of visibility of anything happening where the state agency might be responsible for. So anyway, that will change. When we
Does that include like NTDC as well, or just the, okay.
Regional Development Australia, Tasmania sit on that, but not NTDC. So what I'm finding with some of these things is that act as a conduit of information, make them aware this bit of work is happening at the regional level, and vice versa, just to connect the dots. Quite often this happens because there's a little bit of silo stuff that happens. In relation to
Excuse me.
there's quite a sizable bit of workload there which we started, and we're expanding the structure plan, industrial land use, and there's also the scenic area assessment in the work plan here as well. Moving through the climate change, Council hasn't mentioned, so apologies for the the work there with that one, Amanda, this year, and also there's another layer through that works through the whole plan that relates to our climate change action, and that will impact on that piece will be applied more rigorously through infrastructure as well, and other elements of decision making as well. In relation to community, the whole piece of community facilities, etc., we've got a number of elements that sit around the livability strategy, which we workshopped back in March. Quite a piece around waste handling, so David's got the two major projects there, face around Scamander, which Council's seen some of there as well, and he's currently working on the waste management strategy, just with that overarching understanding around how all that bits and pieces fit together and where it's heading. In relation to community facilities, the aquatic facility and the recreation and recreation and community facility review there as well. When we work with the services, there's a range of activities there, the youth focus, as well as this is where the education pathways piece comes into recognition as well. And then the corporate activities, as I just provide with an overview there, Mr. Mayor, as well. But yeah, there's still work for me to work out the year ahead. When you look at what we've achieved this year and the stage of some of the others, I would think in 12 months' time we'll be in a position where we'll be reporting that we've completed a number of these activities, which will grow.
Any questions for John, Councillor Johnson?
I do have a question, but I also just want to say that really highlights what's happening and what's happened. And again, it's good that it's been, for me, that's good for community to see what is happening. It highlights to me what's happening, so I can imagine for others. I'm just, one of the things for me, General Manager, through the Mayor, is back on page 195 under infrastructure, the Bennelong Bay livability strategy that is going to be a potential new activity. I just feel that I hear that it comes up in, I don't know, it gets referred to here and there. I'm assuming that that will actually be a activity, because people are saying that's where it's going into, this livability strategy.
Yeah, so St Helens Bennelong Bay
Yeah.
livability strategy, yes, that is an activity here, and that is a flow on from the workshop item that we had the conversation back in March, where we talked about how to move this one forward. So this is where the action is, which continues that on.
Okay, it's just it comes under potential new activity. So I'm just, my question was, it feels like we're referring to something that is already sort of happening.
Yeah. Yes, good point. It wasn't specifically named, last year because it wasn't scheduled to actually have kicked in that stage, but we started work on it. So now it's going to get aforementioned. Previously it was just mentioned in a number of different line items.
Yeah.
Now it's included as a specific item.
Okay.
So that was why it's now.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Fagan.
The state government have funded someone to do a study of the location of the school. Does that fit into the St Helens Bennelong Bay livability strategy?
Well, as mentioned by last general manager's report, that they approached us to take on that particular project. We had a conversation around taking on. That will be a separate project and will need to be included in the annual plan for next year. So I'll need to add that as an addition. So, because the department, state, not in the position to undertake that work. So we will include that as an item in there to deal with that one as well. But it's probably not really, might have a slight connection with the livability strategy, but it's actually a separate, completely separate project, like the childcare one.
John, one thing that is very important to me is in the corporate part of it, is where our corporate manager, Raoul, is looking at saving 500 hours a year in the amount of under-resourced, I suppose, financially. We actually keep doing jobs that we've got to be very cautious of the resources we have in a small council. The workload is so strong that it takes a lot longer to get outcomes on some things that we may want a quicker resolution to, but if we have so much workload, and just to see that, how it reflects, if Raoul can save 500 hours a year from our managers and put that back into other activities, we're going to be a lot better resourced on the priorities, and I think that's really important. $40,000 is a lot of work. 500 hours is a lot of hours. So we only have a small team, so it does add a lot to our workload.
Yes, Mr Mayor, and certainly the focus on finding operational savings. It is important to have that continual focus on where we can find savings rather than just accept the fact that what we're doing is the best way. And certainly each year we can always find something, you look at something and think, oh, okay, if we do it this, then be it procurement or some other way that we're operating, we're finding savings. So this continual focus, it just means that and we're talking ongoing operational savings. So if you find 40,000 this year, you get the benefit of that 40,000 next year as well. So that helps to keep rates where they need to be as well. Certainly, yeah, it saves. So 40,000 saves a 0.5% rate increase.
So that's a big task and be very, very worthwhile. Any other questions on this one? If not, I'm going to take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous. 25.17.5. I don't know how you knew this. Next state election.
Well, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Prophecy is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, well, it's like I said, increasingly likely that the state election will. So I think I might have been stating the bleeding obvious when I said that. But anyway, it's what it is. I think, given the narrative we've heard with the state's diabolical financial situation, what it might be, unless they're the mystery Powerball winner and they've got 100 million, I'm not quite sure. It's unlikely we're going to see many other commitments. So I think reiterating and keeping the pressure on a few different ones there as well. So looking at that, the St Mary's Pass, obviously that's there. We've been pushing it. We've had a federal commitment. We've got to keep pushing that one. St Mary's Child Care Centre, okay, that's co-located on DSIP property, but it actually gets funded federally as well. So just making sure that there's a commitment there around that as well. The Tasman Highway, the funding program to upgrade the Tasman Highway between Dyers Basin and St Mary's Pass over the next 10 years. It was on the agenda and it seems to have disappeared. They're ready to do shoulder widening after They did this piece down the road here.
They surveyed it.
Surveyed all sorts of things, and now it seems to have disappeared. So getting that back on the agenda, and obviously a smaller one that we've got, just throwing it in there, was to do with the car park here in the centre of St Helens as well. Was something there. We pushed that with the federal. Well, let's keep it going with the state as well. But equally too, open to other suggestions. But obviously, it's a short and sharp election. We won't be discussing this again. We need to deal with it today as well. So.
Can somebody move the officer's recommendation for discussion? Councillor Fever, Secretary Councillor Carter. I think it's really important, this one. Whilst I cannot personally see there's going to be any extra money thrown around, we need to make sure that we can get a reallocation of what they've already got in their budget toward the biggest priorities. Councillor Chapel, did you put your hand up?
Yeah, I did.
I thought you did.
So I'm just going back up to the top of that report there. So last year in 2024, we had those list of 6 things there. I just question the St Mary's Community Health Centre, that commitment there. Is that something that we still need to be concerned about, or are we happy with that at the moment? Number 6. And why we're not carrying it through if we're not happy with it.
That one.
Because I mean, obviously, health and access and I mean, as a council, are we happy with what's going on there at the moment, or do we need to keep pushing?
I think at the time this was done, Mayor Chapel, this last state election was around the time the GP services were in a state of flux. That piece changed regarding that operation for emergency presentations and inpatient services, but the piece around expanding allied health is the piece, to my mind, which is it's an ongoing thing, but open to guidance from councillors in relation to that.
Councillor Drummond.
To me, thank you for raising it, Councillor Chapel, through the chair. I think it is vitally important because I do feel still that the operation of the hospital could still be under threat when they're looking, particularly in light of the fact that we've had government who's just put the election saying they were looking for savings in our public service. It really did start to concern me that one of those savings could be closing down smaller hospitals. And we've had that argument in the past, as you know, that we got the new St Helens Hospital. So I just think it's a vital resource within the community. I've got someone there at the moment with family members having palliative care there, and the difference that makes to that family, who are a coastal family, the difference that having that service locally makes to that family is vast, and the price can't be put onto that kind of service. So I think that we do need to keep it there, because this does fear me with, it causes fear for me when they talk about cutting, things in the public service and areas that they can find savings in. It could again be up on the chopping block, and we know how the community are really passionate about that service. So as a council, I think we need to be proactive in speaking for it being retained. Thank you.
I think we could probably leave that almost in its entirety, because we're just asking for a commitment to maintaining that as well. And that's how it's worded. So, but of course, if we can expand the allied health and strengthen the general practice. So I mean,
Thank you, Councillor Chair.
And look, the other thing that's always very important to watch in a state election, and we've already seen the opposition leader, Dean Witter, come out and having a crack at local government as a opportunistic crack on planning and the DAPs, and we need to be very aware of the facts, not the rhetoric. And the facts are Tasmania's planning system is the fastest planning system in Australia. We are the fastest in Australia, and that's fact. Where they have DAPs in West Australia, New South Wales, etc., they are substantially slower than Tasmania. So we will be all attacked as a collective, as councils, or used in the rhetoric. But have no doubt, councils in Tasmania are the fastest in Australia for development applications. Discretionary uses, we have around 5,300 of those per year, and out of that 5,300, only 1% is appealed. Out of that 1%, which is 53, around 80% is resolved through mediation. So the balance goes to the tribunal. The balance that goes to the tribunal, there's around 6 per year. 6 out of 12,000 applications per year are overturned council's recommendation. So 12,000, we come down to 5,300. We go down to 1% of that, 80% of that, and the balance, only 6 decisions are on average overturned by the tribunal from what council's decision was. So I think we do a damn good job, and I think we ought to be very proud of what we do as a council and involving our community in all decisions that we make where the DAPs will want to exclude our community. Just thought I'd rub that to the spear then while I remember it. No, very passionate about it because unfortunately we're seeing the attack lines in the paper already. So I think we just need to hold the line and just continue and do what we do and what we do well.
And I hope that the community will see that for what it is, because that's pure politics, what he is doing.
It is.
Pure politics. Anyway.
Any other comments or anything for discussion?
So I just want to note, so that we're going to move number 6 and put it in this as number 5. Yep. Is that correct?
So
just so we're clear.
Add a little bit to it. So, through Mr Mayor, what we might do is actually have an amended motion to say that council's identified priorities for the state election will be as outlined in the report, plus the St Mary's Community Health Centre.
So you raise that, Councillor Chappell, you happy to move that?
Absolutely.
And a seconder, Councillor Drum. No comments on that? We're all very supportive of that. I'll take that part to the vote, that motion to the vote. All in favour? That's carried unanimous.
Right.
So that becomes the motion. So if we're happy with the motion, I'll take the motion to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, so that's really good. That gives John and myself, as the politicians, do come knocking on the door. We have a very strong sense of purpose of what we've put forward for this state election.
Mayor, could we invite some of them to come down St Mary's Pass and go along the road towards St Helens or Scamander? It would be good to invite some. I use that road regularly, and the amount of, near misses. Every time I drive there, there are...
Off the path.
Need to make sure there's plenty of traffic going the other direction.
All I'm saying is, I feel like people need to just experience it. You just have to drive down there once.
Line it up so we've got lots of big...
Oh, you don't even have to, I can tell you.
So I think,
Yeah.
I think
Anyway.
pretty well much aware of what the St Mary's Pass is, but if we have no further consideration on this, I'll take this part to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 25.17.6 is public land list, St Helens Aerodrome. And John, would you and Delara, you'd like to come forward? Like to speak to this together?
Yep, so thank you, Mr Mayor. So as part of Delara working on an item relating to the St Helens Aerodrome, the classification of the land is as public land. So when we look closely at the public land list and look at the legislation there, when just looking at the legislation, it talks around public pier or public jetty, any land that provides health, recreation, amusement or sporting facilities for public use, public park or garden, this sort of public open space, any other land that council determines is public land is where obviously council made a decision back when the Act came into play back in 1993, and looking at what's on there, which also includes council depots, council offices, and I reckon that was just a decision was made and all council land was put on the public land list rather than actually look at what's there and what's a reasonable thing there. So hence the aerodrome is classified as public land, yet the public access to the aerodrome, it's a regulated airspace. There is not public access to the airspace, it's controlled. So hence, with this, there are two options to go. One was just to go through the process to lease public land for the one thing, for this purpose. Or the other one is to actually remove it from the public land list, which it should never have been on. And so when you look at that and then look at the Act to see, okay, what's the process to do that under Section 178 of the Act, or thereabouts, there's nothing. There's no process outlined in the Act to actually remove something from the public land list. There is to dispose of, to sell, to lease, but to actually take it back off the list there's nothing there. Talk to council solicitor, ask them for advice, haven't received it in writing yet, but talked to her on Friday, and her guidance was, upon reflection, her approach was that to go through the 28-day process as if you're disposing of the public's interest in the land. You're not actually disposing of the land, but actually disposing of public's interest in the piece of land. Said there's no guidance on this, there's no other opinions, she's not aware of anyone else having done this. So effectively what then is the second recommendation is her belief as the process that we should follow, which would be to remove the land on those certificates of title from the public land list. We still go through the process, we advertise it for 28 days, consider representation. So if council reflects on the process that we used at Fingal, it's exactly the same as that process there as well. And then that would remove it from the public land list. At some stage in the future, I would be recommending the council does a full review of all lands to determine whether there's some others there which we should actually be removing as well and go through a process. Happy to take questions and endeavour to answer those, Mr Mayor.
Can I just get somebody to move that either the officer's recommendation just open for discussion as we have a couple of options?
So that's the second recommendation?
I would think the second,
yep.
Which is authorise the General Manager to publish the intention to remove. Can I have somebody move that?
So just to open it up.
To open it up for discussion, Councillor Paul, second Councillor Beaver. And now it's open for discussion. Any questions, concerns? Councillor Johnston?
I just on that, so we can't discuss the first one, we're only discussing the second one. Is that what?
Now it's open, we can discuss everything.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'll just say one thing. It would be great to have that noted, what you have said, that into the future, sooner rather than later, that we look at our public land, how we have got, where it is, all of that, so that we make a sort of quite an open, transparent process so people are aware, because what you're saying is we're taking away public interest in something, or the lawyers are saying that, and I think that would be important that we do that, or if we have to do it for each thing, it looks a little bit, for me, like we're doing it for something.
The public land list is also published on the website. There's a requirement under legislation, so it's there for it. But yeah, I agree, just to say, look, we're doing this review and there will be others that illogically were included for some reason. So anyway.
Councillor Wright.
Once it comes off the public land list, if it does, how is it then categorised? It's just council land.
Yeah, it's just changing it from that declaration, which sits under that. It's still council property. It just takes that piece away.
So it doesn't change anything other than that little
Just
classification.
like the piece at Annie Street and Medea Street where the hospital and police station were, just puts it in the same classification as that. It's other land.
Councillor Johnson?
But we are saying, I'm assuming, that we can't lease, if it's no longer public land, we can lease it for longer than 5 years, is that correct? Or
Yes.
so that is something that yeah. So, yeah. If we want it more than 5 years, we need to take away the public interest.
No, we can still lease it for more than 5 years, but there's a notification process to go through of advertising for 28 days, etc., etc. So it's exactly the same process. It's just, yeah, we can lease for less than 5 years without doing anything, but a 10-year lease or longer requires us to go through a notification process.
Whether it's public or council owned.
If it's public, yes.
If it's council owned,
No.
no. So that is that will be a change.
We can still, it's a public notification piece for that period. So if it's for less than 5 years, we don't have to, it's just like leasing normal council land. Yeah.
And at the moment, the airport is controlled, public don't have access.
Yes.
So it's nothing like a reserve where people can just walk on and off. Is quite different to Any other concerns or considerations?
Sorry. My consideration or concern here is what we've got here is, so it would appear that there'll be an opportunity for expansion of the business once it's in place, that's seen as a good thing. I'm not saying it's not or is or isn't. I'd just like to understand what we're doing for residents that are live close by to the aerodrome, because it is if there are more and more planes, I know it's an aerodrome, it's just, my question, I suppose, is, I want to know that residents know about this, that they're aware about it, that we're doing something that is clear to them that, this is what's going on, that it's not transparent, I suppose, not public. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's going to impact people's amenity, and I understand it's good for the aerodrome to be used. This looks like a good business. I'm just wanting us as a council to be cognisant of that. That's all.
I've just got concerns that we're discussing this now, and we've got a close council thing, but that's all. So, yeah, I've just...
Through Mr Mayor, I was just going to note one thing in relation to the use. You would expect these aircraft movements to be happening during the day. Won't be happening at night like air ambulance. So air ambulance is at night or whenever, whereas these sort of operations here would be during the day, and we could certainly put something in there in relation to that, and we can talk about this further in relation to that sort of use.
It's just that it is noted here. So, I think we should be able to discuss that with our community.
There for transparency that there is but there are other leases at the aerodrome now for hangar use as well. So,
Councillor Drummond.
Thank you, through the chair. My question comes out of that discussion. Do we then have an obligation to notify landowners nearby, residents nearby of changes? I know we're putting it in the paper. I know you're saying we're advertising and complying with the legislation, but is there another step that we then notify?
in relation to the notification process as to...
Which is what Councillor Johnson was saying, then made me start thinking, is there a need, or is that need a requirement that we then notify adjoining neighbours of a greater increase of usage? That's, I think, what my question has become.
No, through you, Mr Mayor, there'd be no requirement for us to notify anything there. The only requirement would be that if within a development application it triggers something from a discretionary perspective, then there would be notification there of that change.
Thank you. I thank you for your indulgence, Mayor and General Manager, for my questions.
We would